Hello guys, welcome to Programming with Java course. My name is Ranjan. In this course, I am going to teach you everything that you need to know about Java programming. I'm sure that some people have already feared to learn Java because they might have told by somebody saying Java is a bit tricky than other programming course. But to be honest, Java is the simplest course. In this course, I'm going to teach you everything from the basics. Actually, in this session particularly, I'm going to teach you all the basics that you need to know about Java. So with these basics, even when you learn advanced concepts, it's going to be easy for you to understand the logic behind that particular code. Without further ado, let's get started learning programming with Java. By the way, my name is Ranjan. I'll be teaching you this course, and then I promise you to teach everything that you need to know about Java. What is Java? What is the use of Java? Because you might be wondering, in the market there are a lot of programming, they're like coming and going, like let's say C program, it has started, then C++. You find that some people would say, when you learn C program, you will have no job. When you learn C++, you will have no job. Not necessarily you will have no job. You can have a job, but compared to Java, C++ and C programming, they have got less wanted, right? But how come even Java has been started a long time ago, but still Java has got a market? What is so special about Java? Java, as we know, Java is an object-oriented programming. So you might be wondering, what can we do with the Java programming? Of course, we can do a lot. If you want to design a web application, Java can be used. If you want to design a mobile application, Java can be used. Let's say you want to design a desktop application, still you can use a Java. That's the reason why, since from the time this Java came to the market, up to now it has got a lot of market among the people. Because you can do a lot of the things with Java, including web application, desktop application, and mobile application. That is the reason why Java plays a vital role in programming. So learning Java is very important. When you learn this course, you will get a market when you go for a job, right? So this is why we need to learn Java. Now let me just give you the bit of history about Java. Java is a general purpose object-oriented programming language. Initially it was developed by Sun Microsoft System in USA in the year 1991. Originally this Java was called like Oak by James Gosling. That James Gosling is no one else, but he is one of the inventors of that particular language called Java. So this is a simple history about Java. Now we are going to know what is the difference between other programming languages and Java. As I said that you might have learned before programming with C. You might have learned about programming with C++. How Java is different from C and C++. Let me give you how Java is different from C. I can say Java is a lot like C, but the major difference between Java and C is that Java is an object-oriented programming, and it has a mechanism to define classes and objects because it's an object-oriented programming, as I said. In an effort to build a simple and safe language, the Java team did not include some of the features that are found in the C program. So what are those features that are found in the C program but that they are not found in the Java? So I can say the first one, I would say Java does not include the C unique statement keywords such as size of and type definition, type def. So those keywords are not part of the Java programming, but those keywords, they are part of the programming with C. Then the next one, I would say Java does not contain the data types such as struct and union, but C does. The third difference between Java and C is Java does not define the type modifier keywords such as auto, extern, register, signed and unsigned. Java does not support an explicit pointer type, as well as Java does not have a preprocessor. Therefore, we cannot use the terms like define, hash include, hash if definition. I think those are all the preprocessor things that we use in C program. I'm sure that if you know C program, you would have come across with those things. We use hash define. We call them as a preprocessor. What is the use of hash define in C program? In case if you want to define a constant value, we can use hash define, right? So those things are not part of the Java, but those things can be used in C program. Then there are a lot actually. Let me just tell you the last one. Apart from this one, there are many more that are not part of the Java. Maybe they are part of the C program. So the last one I would say, Java adds labeled break and continue statements. Java adds many features required for the object-oriented programming. So that is a major difference between the C program and the Java, right? Both are not same, so there are some differences, but almost they are same. But only thing is there are some terms that we use in C program, we don't use them in Java. Then what is the difference between C++ and Java? Because yes, of course we know programming with C is not a object-oriented programming, is a procedural programming, but C++ is object-oriented programming, right? So if C++ can be object-oriented programming, then why Java? Why can't we just stick with C++? The big difference is Java is a true object-oriented language, while C++ is basically C with object-oriented extension. That is what exactly the increment operator like plus plus indicates, right? So in C++ we say that C 2 times plus, that's how we call them as a C++, right? So that is the reason why I'm saying C++ is basically C with object-oriented extension. So this C++ has maintained backward compatibility with C. Therefore, it is possible to write an old style C program and run it successfully under C++ program. Java appears to be similar to C++ when we consider only the extension part of C++. However, some object-oriented features of C++ make the C++ code extremely difficult to follow and maintain. So that is the reason why we have gone for the Java. So let me say some major C++ features that were intentionally omitted from Java are significantly modified. So I would say the first one, Java does not support operator overloading, but C++ does. The second one, I would say Java does not have template classes as C++. And then I would say Java does not support multiple inheritance of classes. So this is accomplished using a new feature name called interface. Java does not use pointers. Finally, I would say there are no header files in Java, but whereas in C and C++ we do have the header files. In Java there is no header files. Instead we use packages. We are going to learn how to create packages, what is packages as we go on. So this is a major difference between C++ and Java. So we have learned what is Java. As I said, it's a general purpose object-oriented programming. And then I have said the uses of Java programming. You can create different applications. Then from there, we have learned about the differences between C and C++ and Java. Right? Finally, now I'm going to take you to the actual Java programming. So now we have learned about the theoretical part, uses, how Java differs from the other programming languages. Now I want you to learn Java with the practical examples. Are you excited? Let's get started. Before we start coding, I want you to know something called IDE. So I'm sure that we come across with IDEs. The term IDE is before integrated development environment that we use to create programmings, right? So there are a lot of IDEs that are found in the market, especially when you want to work with the Java programming. The most famous IDEs are, you can say, Eclipse is one of the IDEs that can be used for Java programming. Netbeans is another famous IDE that we can use for Java programming. How we can use IntelliJ. IntelliJ also one of the most popular IDE that you can use to code programming with Java. For us to learn this programming with Java course, I am going to use Netbeans, but you are free to use anything, but I am going to use Netbeans. In case if you don't know how to use Netbeans or where to download Netbeans, let me show you, so that in case if you are interested in using this Netbeans IDE, you can just go and do the same that I am going to do now. So for that, what I am going to do, I am just going to my browser. Here type Netbeans download. There is an Apache Netbeans, the latest release one. Then there is Apache Netbeans 12.4, that is the latest release for the Apache Netbeans. So me, I am not going for the Apache Netbeans because of the size. It's actually a bit heavy. My machine is actually has only 4 GB RAM, so I don't want to go for the heavy softwares. Instead, I just want to go for the light ones. So for that, I'm going to download Netbeans 8.2. So go to this link, click there, it will take you to this page. So now, first thing that you need to do, you have to accept the license agreement. Click there. Then here there is a set of files for the Netbeans. If you are using the Linux or Mac or Windows, if it is 64-bit or 32-bit, download. It depends on your machine. For example, the one that I'm using is a Windows 64, so I have to download this one. So go there, click and download. The next thing that you need to install them is Jdk Java Development Kit. So this Jdk is a must in order to install the Netbeans IDE. So go ahead and type, let me just go there, Jdk 8. Since I'm going to install Netbeans 8.2, if you install a JDK file above the JDK 8 version, your Netbeans is not going to be installed. So make sure that you have to download a JDK version 8, because this JDK version 8 is the one who is going to be supported for you to work with this Netbeans 8.2. If you download the latest version of JDK, maybe it can be 13 or something. If you download the JDK version 13, it's not going to work. So make sure you are downloading JDK 8. Go to the first link, as I said, come down there. You will see there is a different operating system. Select your operating system, then download. So here my operating system is Windows 64. I'm going to download this one. Now the assumption is you have downloaded both setups for JDK and Netbeans. When it comes to the installation, the first thing that you need to do, you have to install the JDK first before you install the Netbeans. Even if you try to install the setup for the Netbeans, it might ask you to install the JDK first. So make sure you have to install this JDK setup first. When you're done installing the JDK, then go ahead and install the Netbeans setups. Right? So after the installation, let me go to my desktop. You will see the Netbeans IDE 8.2 on your desktop, which was installed. Now I'm going to launch my Netbeans IDE for me to program the Java. Let me launch. So when you click Netbeans IDE, it will take a bit of time. This is the interface for the Netbeans IDE. This Netbeans has got menus on top there, and there are different that you can see them here. We can explore more about what of these each menus as we go on. So now I'm going to show you how to create a simple project using Java. Right? For you to create a project, all you need to do is go to the file, click new project. Let me say I'm going to create a Java application, right? So here the Java has been selected already, right? All you need to do is you have to select Java application, because we want to create a Java application. There are a lot of options. We will learn more about what is Java web. As I said, that if you want to create a web application, Java can be used, right? So if you want to create any web application, you have to use Java web and web application. As for now, we are not going to that far. Let us start with the basics first. So for that, I'm going to Java. I'm going to select Java application, then click next. Here, you are going to give the name of the project. Let me say, I'm going to name this one as a Hello World. That's the name of the project, right? So here, wherever that you want to save this project, you can browse and save it anywhere. By default, it's going to be there in the documents. because that is where your Netbeans is being installed. So it will create a folder, then it will be stored there. If you want to change, you can change. Then when you click this one as a create main class, this one is going to create the main class for us. But when you uncheck this one, we are not going to have a main class. So for now, let me just check this box, because I'm going to create the main box. I'm going to create the main class, right? Because what does that mean, class? I'm sure that we know object-oriented programming is all about class and object. Class is nothing but where we are going to have the methods and the data members. Object is nothing but where we are going to have an instance for the class, right? So it's an instance of a class is an object. A class is nothing but where we are going to have the member functions and the data members, right? If you have already learned C++, I'm sure that you know about what is methods and data members and member functions. Right, now I'm going to click finish. It's going to create a project for us. Right, as you can see them here. Now let me just go there. So this hello world project has been created. When you expand this one, go to the source package. This source package, this hello world is a default package which was created by the Netbeans. But if you want to create your own package, as you can see them here, package name as a hello world. As I said in the theory part, I'm sure that you can still remember, I told you that in Java programming, we don't have header files. It's not like we are going to use hash include IO string. We are not going to use hash include stdio.h. No. Here we are going to use the term name called package. So this package will act as a header file. Just like in that other programming, whatever the things that we have learned with hash include stdio.h, it will support the input and output, right? Here this package, there are different types of packages that are found in the Java which can support each of the operations, right? So this package is a hello world by default, but if you want to create a different package, you can, for example, go to the source, select, right click, go to the new. If you want to create the Java package, go there, click Java package, name the package that you want. Let's say I want to name them as my name, Ranjan. Click finish. There is a package has been created, but this is just a package. I have not created any class, right? So at least for this project hello world, the class has been created by default. But in case if you want to create a class for this package Ranjan, all you need to do is select the package, then right click, go to new, and then click Java class. Here name the class. Let me say I'm going to name the class as Ranjan, right? When I click finish, you will see the package name is Ranjan and is going to create the class name called Ranjan. I'm sure that you have noticed one thing. There is a difference between this class and this class. What is the difference between this class and this class? This class has got the main method. As you can see them here, void main. Every program has got a main method, right? Even in C program, we have the main method. We have got C++ program, we have got main method. All the program has got main method. What is the use of main method? That is a method is going to be executed by the compiler, right? So whatever the things that you call them in the main method, that is what going to be executed. So here we have the main method by default. Here there is a no main method. Do you know the reason why? Remember when we are creating the project, I told you go to new project. I told you to select Java application. I told you to select next. Here I told you to check this box, create main class. That's the reason why this hello world, let me cancel this one for now. This hello world is being created with a main function. This class I have not done because I have just created right click and then I have created the class. So it has just created me a class. I hope you have understood the difference, right? So no wonder that here there is a no main method. Here there is a main method. Now let me explain you this one. As you can see them here, this one says public class hello world. What does that mean? This public is nothing but is an access specifier. I'm sure that even in C++ programming we have learned about access specifier. What does this mean, public? You can able to access the methods of this class throughout the program. That is what it means, right? When you say public, you can access the properties of this class throughout the function. So this public for now, just know that is an access specifier. This class is a keyword. This is the name of the class. I hope everything is clear as for now. The next thing is, as I said, this is a main function, right? So this is a main function. This main function says public. Public, I am sure that you know already. What is public? Public is an access specifier. Static. What does this mean, static? This static is a keyword. If you declare any method as a static, it is known as a static method. So what is the use of this static method? Okay, as we know, when you say something as a static is a keyword, then we would know this particular method is a static method. So, but what is the use? The core advantage of static method is that there is no need to create an object to invoke the static method. Maybe it sounds weird, I understand, maybe you don't get. When you use this static as a keyword, there is no need for you to create an object in order to access any method. I will show you just now, just give me 2 minutes so that I will show you, right? So void, we know already, meaning this returns nothing. This is a main method. So here you can see this is a parameter. I'm sure that you know what is parameter, right? So this is a parameter. This parameter says that we are going to return an array of strings as an argument. So we are going to return, this is an array of string as an argument. So this part we can call that as a comment line argument. So this whole part we can call them as a comment line argument. So what it does is going to return the array of strings. We can say an array of sequence of character, which is nothing but a string as an argument. Let's say I want to print hello world. So if you want to print a hello world, in C program we use printf to print the statement. In C++ we use cout to print the statement. But in Java we use system.out. So I'm just going to type system.out.print, right? So the first letter of the system has to be uppercase because Java is a case sensitive. If you misspell, it's going to throw an error. So this system has to be uppercase .out.print. What do you want to print? Let me say I want to print hello world. Okay, put a semicolon at the end. That's it. Now we have managed to create a simple program to print hello world. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to save. If you want to run this one, all you need to do, you can go there, hello world, right click, run file. Or you can use this button there. This one says run project. So when you click this one, it's going to build and then finally it's going to return the result as hello world. And then followed by it says build successful. Why is it so? The thing is, when you use print, for example, let me just copy, paste them here. I'm going to say, let me say Ranjan here. Let me save and run again. You see, hello world and Ranjan here is been printed in the same line, right? If you want to print the result in a separate line, I would say if you want to print the results in the new line, instead of print, try to use print ln. So what does that mean? ln, line, print line. So it's going to print the result in the new line. So it's always recommended to use print ln instead of using print. If you use print, the things will be printed in the same line. So if you want to print the things in the new line, use print ln. So let me save and run, then you will see the difference. You have seen hello world and Ranjan here, even this build successful is been printed in a separate new line just because of this statement print ln. I hope now you know how to create a simple program to print any message. Now let's go back to the business. I say when you use this static as a keyword, if you want to access any value of a method that belongs to a static method, there is no need for you to create an object. I know what I am telling you is quite confusing. So let me do this. So what I am going to do, this is a command line, right? So let me just get rid of this command line. So here, what I am going to do, let me create a class. Not necessarily a class, maybe let me create a method. So I'm going to create a method name called, I can say public void. I'm going to use static as a method, right? So static as a method, maybe then followed by I need to write the name of the method, right? So I can say, I can use public static as a keyword, then followed by void. I'm not going to return anything. Then name of the method, let's say I'm going to say non-static method. So this is the name of the method, right? So inside I'm just going to, let's say I'm just going to print something. Let me just copy this one. I'm going to paste this one. So instead of hello world, I will just pass the message saying this is a static keyword, right? So let this one be a static method because this is a static one, right? I'm saying that hello, I'm static. So now I said if you use static as a keyword, there is no need for you to create an object to access this member function or method. I'm sure that in C++ we have come across with the methods, right? Let's say in the main function, if you want to access the value of this particular method, what do? You usually create an object, right? How to create an object? Here is different from C++. If you want to create an object in C++, what do? You have to come up with the name of the class. Let's say name of the class is, let me say hello world. Then you will say h1. This is how you create objects in C++, right? Here is bit different. Here you are going to do the same like hello world, then followed by you are going to create an object equals, we are going to use new as a keyword followed by name of this class. I hope you have understood, right? So if you want to create an object, there is a difference between C++ and Java. If you want to create an object in C++, you just say hello world, then hello. If you want to access a method of this static method, what do? Hello, then you use dot operator, then you will call this method as static method in order to access the value of that member function. I hope you remember. But in Java, the creation of object is different. We are going to use the name of the class, and then we are going to create an object. Here we are going to use new as a keyword, then we are going to use the name of the class with this parenthesis. Now I say if you have a method name as static, there is no need for you to create an object to call this method. For example, in case if I want to access the values of this static method, all I need to do is I can just call the function. What is the name of the function or a method? I would say this is a method, not a function really. So I can just going to call the method here. Put semicolon, right? Because here I have the keyword as static. So not necessarily you need to say this object. What is the object? I have created the object for the class hello dot and static method to see the result of this function. There is no need for you to use this object because I have used static as a keyword. So when you just call the method in directly here, it can still able to print. So let me run this one so that you will see. You see hello world, Ranjan here, hello, I am a static. So this is a benefit of having static as a keyword. When you have static as a keyword, there is no need for you to create an object. Even this object, there is no need. So you can just comment that one out. Let me just remove this part. There is no need for you to create an object. When you save and run, it will still run. But let's say I'm going to remove the static as a keyword. Let me call this one as a non-static. As you can see them here, okay, this static method, I'm trying to call them here, but it's throwing me an error. What is an error? The error says, the tooltip says, non-static method cannot be referred from static context. So in that case, if you want to access the value of this particular method into your main method, because if you want to execute any functions, any methods into your main function, you have to call that function into your main function, right? So what is the name of the method? Static method. Yes, I have done, but I'm unable to access the value of this one. Before I have, but not now, because this method is not the static method. If the method is not the static method, you have to create an object. So now I have created an object. So if you want to call this method, what you need to do? You have to say object dot static method. So when I save, now the error has gone. When you refresh, when you run, hello, I am not static. I hope now you have understood the difference between the use of static and non-static method. I hope there is no questions at all in this field, right? So this is how we can create a simple Java program to print any value. I hope as for now everything is clear. Now let us learn about the access specifier. So I say that public is an access specifier. What does that mean? As long as the keyword is public, as long as the access specifier is public, you can able to access the method of this particular class anywhere in the program. So this is a class. So even you can remove this one. It can be just a class, right? So here this method has got the access specifier name as public, right? In case if I want to access the value of this method into another class, let's say I'm going to create another class here. I can say, I can say class, let me say class test. I just want to close this class here so that this is one class, starts here and ends here. This is another class, starts here and ended here, right? So when I run this one, so let me remove, this is a, okay, let me save, one run, just a minute. So I opened here, okay, let me close them here, let me save. I'm going there, right click, run file. Okay, as you can see them here, the program is working as normal. There is no issues, right? The program is working as normal, just like the way before. But you see there are two classes here. There is one class with a name called hello world. There is another class name called test. Now we are talking about the access specifier. So now this is a different class. Though this is a different class, inside of this class I can still able to access the method of this class name called hello world. In case instead of public, let's say I'm going to change this one to private. So this is another access specifier. So when you use private as an access specifier, what does that mean? You cannot access this method name called static method out of this class name called hello world, because this hello world class starts here and ends here, right? It ends here. If you want to access the method, this is a method of this class, right? If you wanted to access the method of this class into the another class, because this is a class, another class, if you wanted to access the method of this class into another class when the access specifier name is private, it is not allowed. So let me go and run. You will see there is an error here. So this error is saying, come down there, it's just printing hello world and Ranjan here because of this main method. But when I try to access this static method using this actually object, it's giving me an error. The reason is this access specifier name is private. So when the access specifier name is private, if you want to access that method out of the class, you are not allowed, right? I hope this one is clear. The next one that you need to know is default. For example, if I don't put anything, I'm not specified as public, I'm not specified as private, I've just left it blank, but it's still a method, right? Void static. So in this case, here the access specifier name is default, because there is no public, there is no private, it's too empty. So when you don't specify an access specifier name, by default it will go to the default access specifier. So what is the use of default access specifier? As long as these two classes belongs to the same package. What do I mean to say same package? This is a package name called hello world, right? As long as these two classes belongs to the same package, this one can still work. So let me go and run. You will see it's still working fine, because this is a default access specifier. So when you don't specify, it would work as long as they belongs to the same package. So now what I can do, I'm going to that other class that I have created at the beginning, this one. Now this is a different one, right? So the package is different. Let me say I just want to, let me come here, let me copy the main method that I have them here. So let me go there. I just want to paste them here. So here what I'm going to do, I'm just going to delete this part. So I've created the object for this class here. What is the class here? Let me say this hello world, because I want to access the method from this one. So I've created the object here. I can still able to access, right? So now this is a different class with a different package. I'm trying to access the method from this class, though this is a default, but still is giving me an error. The reason is, even though this access specifier is a default access specifier, it can be accessed only within the package. If you try to access this one into the different package, it's not going to work, because this package is different name called Ranjan. So I'm trying to access that one into this one. That is the reason why it's giving me an error. In case, let me say here I'm going to, this is a hello world, right? So within this hello world, I'm going to create another class. Let me say call this one as a new class, whatever the name is, okay, right? The package is hello world, right? So even this package is hello world. For this hello world, even this package is hello world. So they belongs to the same package, right? Now if I want to access them here, because as long as, let me just cancel, let me move this one this side. So let me go to this new class. So I've just changed the view. Okay, I'm sure that now everything is clear. Now this is hello world, the one that I have created. This is a new class, but the same package. Now if I want to access this method, static method, into this class, it can still accessible, because this is a default access specifier, because there is no specification saying like public or private. So if there is nothing, as I said, it's going to be a default. So what I'm going to say here, let me say public static void main. Let me just copy and paste. So here I don't want to print them here. I just want to have the object for this class, and then I want to access the property. So here what I'm going to do, let me remove everything from this main method. There is nothing here, right? So only here there is a main method saying that hello world. Then I have tried to call that method. So when I save and run now, if you want to run this one, go to the project, go to the new class, right click, run. It's going to build, it's going to bring you the message saying hello, I'm non-static. Why? Because though this is a different class, but they belongs to the same package. That is the reason why I can still able to access this method. But in case if I change this one to private, let's say, so when I run this one now, I'm going to the project, I'm going here, maybe let's say save, I'm going to save now. You can see already there is an error. When I use the tooltip, static method has a private access in hello world. So this is how the access specifier would work. So now I'm sure that you have an idea about how this access specifier is working. Let me close these other things. Right. So we have learned about access specifier. Next we are going to learn about data types in Java. So let me go to the file. I'm going to create new project, Java application, click next. You can give, I'm just going to call this one as a data types. I want to create the main function. Yes, click finish. Good. It has created a project for us with the main function. So just wait, it's loading. So okay, as we wait for these things to be loaded, let me teach you what is data types in Java. As the name suggests, data types specify the type of data that can be stored inside the variables in Java. Java is a statically typed language. This means that all the variables must be declared before they can be used. You cannot use a variable before they can be declared, right? So for example, you cannot say a is equal to 5, then down there you would say integer a. No, it's not allowed. You have to declare the variable before you assign the values for that variable. So it's still taking a bit of time. I'm sure that so let me say there are different types of data that are found in Java. Initially we can categorize the data types in Java into two types. First one is a primitive data type. Let me type them here. First one is a primitive, second one is a non-primitive. So these are all the two basic data types that are found in the Java. So primitive, we have byte, we have integer, we have boolean, we have float, we have double, we have char, we have string, and then we have short. These are all the basic primitive data types in Java. So let me give you an example for primitive. Let me say here, let me just type system.out.println. So you can see them here. My ID is suggesting what is next, right? So here I'm going to start with, let me say byte as a data type. Let's say byte, I'm going to call this one as a value is equals to 12. So here if you want to print the value, it's going to print the value. Let me save, let me run. So it's going to print 12 as a message, as you can see them here, right? So now the next data type is an integer. Let me call this one as an integer. When I save, when I run, it's still going to say 12, right? So in case, let me just increase the numbers for an integer. Let's say, right? As you can see them here, this one is still an integer. This one is still an integer, but it's throwing me an error. You cannot store a long number like this under the integer data type. When you have the long integer, here you are going to use long as a data type, but still it's giving us an error. What is the problem here? So when you use long as an integer, you need to put L as a suffix, saying this number is a long data type, because if you don't put L in the suffix, the JavaScript compiler would still consider this one as a string, this one as an integer data type. So it's mandatory for you to put L as a suffix when you have a long as a data type. It can be either uppercase or lowercase, that doesn't matter, but make sure that you have to put L in the suffix. So this is how you can declare long data type. Then let's say if you want to specify the decimal value, let's say 12.99. So we know this is not long, we know this is float, right? Let me call this one as a float. But when I say float, this one is giving me an error. So in JavaScript, if you want to use float as a data type, just like the way that you use long, here you have to use F in the suffix, or you can use a lowercase f as I said for the long, or you can say simply, if you don't want to use float, you can simply say this one as a double. The error would go. You can say call this one as a double, or if you want to say as a float, you have to use f in the suffix in order to specify this data type is an double or float, right? So the next one is char. Char, if you want to specify a character, you have to use char as a data type. So let's say maybe my name. So here char can be a one character. Let's say if you want to specify one character, it has to be there in the single quotes. Let's say A, right? So if you want to print that one, here you have to say the same one, my name, right? So it would print. So you can have the combination of characters or a sequence of character. Let me say Alex, still okay. So it's giving me an error. Why? Because this Alex is a string. So here you need to use string as a data type. So when you use string as a data type, you're not allowed to use a single quote. Remove the single quote and then put the double quotes. Inside the double quotes, pass the sequence of character. Right? The error has gone now. So when it comes to the string, string has got some inbuilt method, just like in JavaScript, string has got some inbuilt method, right? So let me say, now here, let me call this one as my name. When I put dot, it is giving me an option that I can do with the methods. Let's say, let me go to, what can I say? There is a lot of methods here. Okay, let me say, go to the index of. I want to use the index of method, right? So here I need to pass, let's say the character from, let me say Alex, and then I want to concatenate with another method. So if you want to concatenate, you have to put plus, and then let me say Alex carry. So now in the index of, I just want to find out the index of carry. This carry is not found because the C is uppercase, so you have to pass exactly that, like the way that you have passed. Let me copy, paste them here. So what's the error? Assign the values. So okay, instead of using this one, what we can do, we can just put this thing Control X, and then we can put them inside so that you can able to print. Right? Let me remove this. Let me save and run. So the index of carry, the C is 4, right? So let me show you. This is 0, L is 1, 2, this is 3. So for this C, the index was 4. That is the reason why it was giving us a 4 as an output, as you can see them here, right? In case if I put array, if I put something like, let me say Ranjan, let me save and run, is giving us -1. What does that mean? If this particular string is not part of the original string, is going to return as -1 as an answer. I hope it's clear, right? -1 as an answer, because if this particular string is not part of my actual string. So this is about the primitive data types in Java. I hope now we are clear with primitive data types in Java. So there is a lot of methods that are associated with string. If you want to replace the string, if you want to find out the last string, first string, as I showed you, there is a lot of methods that can be used. So instead of index of, just put, when you put dot, is going to give us the methods that you can use with the string. So ends with, equals, get bytes, any method you can use, right? So you can, I really want you to explore more with this particular one. So this is about the data types, especially with the primitive data types. Now let us learn about non-primitive data types. We can call this one as a non-primitive data type, or we can say this is a reference data type. Reference data type, I would say, is a complex data type. So what does that mean? This is where we are going to use objects. This is where we are going to use an object. This is a simple way of creating a data type, right? We can call this one as an integer, and maybe number 1 is equals to 5, right? So if you want to print that one, here you can just delete, and then if you want to print number 1, that's it, right? So this is a primitive. So when it comes to the complex reference non-primitive data types, they are objects. How to create an object in Java? I'm sure that I taught you just before sometimes. So let me say student, and then I'm going to say stu is an object. Here I'm going to say new as a keyword, then I'm going to say student, right? This one is giving me an error because I have to create an object based on the class name. So here I can say the class name is data type. So it has to be same name as the class name. So let me copy and paste. So even here I have to use the same, right? So in case if I want to access any methods of this class, just like the way before. What do I need to do? If it is a static method, I can straight away call the method. If it is not a static method, all I need to do is I have to create an object like this, then stu dot I have to call the method. Since I don't have any method here, so for the sake of time, let me just create a method here. I can say void, I can say void non-static, whatever. Inside I'm just going to say system.out.println. So inside I'm just going to pass the message. Let me say Ranjan as a message. So if I want to call that method, I'm just going to say student dot non-static, right? So when I save and run, it should return Ranjan as a message. As you can see them here, Ranjan as a message. So this is a reference data type, right? This is not a primitive, this is a reference data type. Let me give you another interesting example. In Java, we have got the date as a function. So let me say date as a function. This is an inbuilt function. Let me call this one as a new, not a new, because new is a keyword. Let me say this one as a day 1 equals, I'm going to use new as a keyword because it's an object. So I'm going to say date. So if you want to use this date, we have the package that can be used. Click there. So import java.util.date. So this is an inbuilt function. If you want to use this date inbuilt function in Java, you have to import the package. That package is java.util.date. So just click here, and then you can see on top of this one, it is imported the package name called import java.util.date. So this date has to be uppercase. So this is an inbuilt function in Java, right? So for example, what is the use of this date function? In case if you want to get the today's date, it is easy. Day 1 is an object dot get day method. When you use get day method, save and refresh. Okay, and then this one has to be there in the system.out.println, right? So let me just put this, let me cut this one. We are no longer using this one. So here I'm going to use system.out.println. Maybe I'm just going to put after this declaration. So instead of Ranjan, what I'm going to do, I'm going to print day 1, right? So when I save and refresh, you would see it's returning 3 because today is Wednesday. So Sunday is 0, Monday is 1, Tuesday is 2, Wednesday is 3. That's the reason why it's returning me 3 as a value. So in case if I want to get the time, so instead of day dot get day, I can use day 1 dot get minutes, hours. You can use anything, maybe get date. Let me use the date for today. So let me save and refresh, maybe run 11, because today's date is 11. So you can see them here in my screen, the today's date is 11, right? So we can use different things like maybe let me use get. What are the things that we can use? Get year. So it's going to get an year. So let me save and run. You can see the year is 2021. No wonder that is saying 2021. So you can use different method, right? This is how the data types would work in Java. I hope now we have known how to work with data types in Java. Then the next thing is variables in Java. I'm sure that you know what is variable. Variable is nothing but it's like a container where we are going to store the data from. Actually we use a variable to hold the data, right? At the same time, variable is going to have a memory location in our stored data. So if you want to declare the variable, I'm sure that you know the rules. The variable name should start with the letters. Again, variable is a case sensitive. If you say a variable uppercase a is equal to 5, let me even write this one. So integer num1 is equal to, let me say 10. Then integer, I'm going to put this num1 in uppercase is 5. So I'm sure that you know variables are case sensitive. So these two are different. It's not like num1, both are num1. So value is going to be 10 for both of them. No, they're case sensitive. They are different. So you cannot start a variable name with a number. Let's say I'm going to start with 6. Straight away is going to give us the big fat error, because you are not allowed to start a number as a variable name. You can use a variable name starting with a letter, then you can write a number afterwards like this. It's still okay, but you cannot start a number as a first letter for the variable name, right? And then again, you are not allowed to have the special characters like this hash. It's not allowed, but you are allowed to use underscore. Yes, it is allowed, but not the dash. There is a difference between the dash is not allowed, but underscore it is allowed, right? So this is how we can create variables in Java. Now let us learn about the operators in Java. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create another project. Let me call this one as I'm going to call this one as an operators. I'm going to finish. It's going to create a main class. So in this particular session, you will learn about the different types of operators in Java. Then we are going to learn about the different types of operator together with the syntax for each of the operators for the better understanding. So basically, operators are symbols that performs operations on variables and values. For example, we use plus, right? So we use plus. What is the use of this plus? If you want to add two numbers, if you want to add the values, we use plus, right? So here, this plus is an operator. If you want to add two values, let's say 5 and 5. So this 5 is an operand. Actually, this 5 is the value. This plus is an operand, right? So operator can be used for different purposes. Let us learn one by one. Let me start with an arithmetic operator, right? So arithmetic operator, as we know, we have got plus, we have got minus, we have got multiplication, we have got divisions. We even have a modulo division, right? So these are all basically an arithmetic operator. So let me go and show you a simple example explaining of these arithmetic operations. So here what I'm going to do, in this main class operator, I'm going to declare a variable. Let me call that variable as an integer. Let me say num1 equals to 10. I can say another one, maybe num2 equals 20, maybe 30. So if you want to declare multiple variables in a single line, that one has to be separated with a comma. I'm sure that you already know. So let me just start with an addition, this plus, right? So if you want to add two numbers, I'm sure that you know, if you want to print the result, you are going to say system.out.println. So inside, let me say first you want to print the addition, right? So pass this addition as a string, as a message. Then what you want to add? What you want to add is this. You want to add this num1 plus num2. Is it clear? So here you are going to use plus as a concatenation operator, because we are going to concatenate the result of num1 plus num2 into this message name called addition. So let me save and run so that you would see. So the addition and then 40. Then if you want to use a different operator, you can just use, if you say subtraction, when you use subtract, you have to just pass this one as a subtraction. It's going to subtract. So it's going to subtract 30 from 10. The answer is negative 20. So if you want to multiply, use multiplication. If you want to divide, you can use divide. If you want to use the modulo division, you can use modulo division. But remember, if you want to pass anything as a string before, you have to use plus, so that this string will be concatenated with this result. Now, especially when it comes to the division, I just want you to let you know one thing. If you divide an integer number with an integer number, the result is always going to be an integer. Let's say this one is 30. Let's say this one is a 3. So now I want to divide num1 by num2. When I run this one, the result is, forget about this one. Okay, let me just say this one as a division so that I won't confuse. Save and run. Division, when you divide that by 3 is 10. The result is integer. In case either one of these number is a float, the result would be always a float. What do I mean to say float? Let me say 3.50. So this is not an integer, this is a float. If it is a float, you have to use F, save and run. The division is 1.6. So if any one of these number is a float, the result would always be a float. So maybe let's say this one is 3, maybe this one is 3, maybe this one is, let me say 30, and this one is 3.4. So initially just going to say F here, save and run. Even this result is a float. So if both numbers are integer, the result is going to be integer. If one of these numbers are float, the result is always going to be float. That's the one thing that you should know about in arithmetic operators. Then the next operator that we are going to see is about what is the next thing. So maybe we can see about assignment operators, right? So assignment operators are used in Java to assign the values to the variables. For example, here let me say, get rid of this one. The second one is an assignment. So assignment operator is usually used to assign the values. Let me say integer age. So if you want to assign the values to this variable age, you can say age is equal to 10. That's it. So this is how assignment operator would work in Java. So there are different assignment operators, not only equals. There are different assignment operators. There are times you will see an assignment operator as maybe plus equals. Then you will see minus equals as an assignment operator. Or you will see a star equal. Or you will see division equals. Or you can see modulo division and then followed by equals. There are different assignment operators that can be used, right? So let me give you an example so that I'm sure that you can able to understand. So here I'm going to say integer, let me call this one. I'm just going to give you an example of each of these assignment operators for the better understanding, right? I'm going to create a variable here. Let me say integer num1 equals, I would say 5. Okay, now I'm going to create another variable. Let me say integer. I'm going to create another variable. Let me say var as a name of the variable. Okay, now what I'm going to do, initially I'm going to start with an assignment variable. So as I said, if you want to assign the variable, you have to use equal sign. So var, I want to assign this var equals to the variable num1. Is that clear? So this is first assignment operator. For example, if you want to use this plus equals, what does that mean? Plus equals is nothing but is equivalent to plus 1. Like let me show you this example. Let me say here I'm just going to say var, I'm just going to use plus, then equals a. What does that mean? Is equivalent, sorry, it's not a, here is num1. So what does that mean? It's nothing but number plus 1. That is what it means in short. It's nothing but num1 plus 1. So if you want to check, you can just use system.out.println. What you want to print them is a var. So when you want to print the var, initially the num1 is 5, Now we have incremented the num1 by 1. So when you print, this one would give us a result as 6. So let me save and run. Yes, it's going to give us the results in 2 times. So 5 will be incremented by 2, so it's 10. So if you want to use multiplication, sorry, it's not going to add by 1, it's going to add 2 times, like whatever the value that you have for the num1 is going to be multiplied by 2 times. So 5 plus 5. So in case if you put 10 here, the result would be 20. So when I run, as you can see them here, the result would be empty. So 20. It's not like it's going to num plus 1. So num1 plus again the same value here. Here when you put 10, so num1 is 10, again it's going to add another 10, right? So if you put multiplication, say run, is going to be 100, right? So this is how the assignment operator would work. So you can try to practice with the different things, like you can put negative sign here, or you can put modulo operation here to check with different operators, right? This is how assignment operator would work in Java. The next operator is a relational operator. So this relational operator is like the use of this relational operator is to check the relationship between two operands. So for that, let me say, when I say A less than P, or name1 less than name2, or num1 less than num2. So we are trying to check the relationship between two. What is the relationship between A and are they less than, are they greater than, are they equal? So that is how the relational operator would look. So let me give you this simple example to understand how the relational operator would work. So let me say string name1, let me call this one as a Ranjan, comma, maybe I am going to have name2 equals I can say whatever, let me say Philip, right? So in this relationship, relational operator is usually used to check the relationship between the operands. Let's say I just want to check whether the name1 and name2 are equals. So if you want to check the name1 and name2 are equals, I'm just going to use system.out.println. So here I'm going to say name1, I'm going to say equals name2. Then this one will check whether the name1 is equal to name2 or not. So here when you use double equals, we are trying to check. It's not like we are assigning the value. So we are trying to check the relationship between the name1 and name2, saying whether they are equal or not. So when I run this one, you will see false, because name1 is not equivalent to name2, right? So if you say otherwise, use this exclamation, so meaning we are trying to check name1 is not equals to name2. When I run this one, it should return true, because name1 is not equivalent to name2. For example, if you have got numbers here, let's say I'm going to have numbers like integer, num1 is equal to 3, 4 or whatever, num2 is equals to 18. So in case if I want to check the relationship between num1, whether it is greater or less than, I can use this relationship. So it's going to tell us whether num1 is greater than num1 and num2 is false, because num2 is greater than num1. So this is another relationship operator. You can use greater than, less than, or greater than or equals, or less than or equals. You can use equals as well, right? So greater than or equals, sorry, when you want to use the greater than equals, it has to come here, or less than or equals, any relationship. So this is how we can check the relations between operands using the relational operator. Then the next operator is a logical operator. So these logical operators are used to check whether an expression is true or false based on some conditions, so that we can make decisions. So these logical operators, we can use logical AND, When you want to use the logical AND, we use this ampersand. Then if you want to use logical OR, we can use two straight lines. I hope you know this is logical OR. If you want to use the logical NOT, you can use this NOT symbol. So these are all the logical operators that can be used to check on specific conditions. For example, let me give you a simple example for the better understanding. Let me remove all these things. So let us see one example using logical AND. So I'm just going to say system.out.println. So here I'm just going to check the condition. Let's 5 greater than 4. This is one condition. Then I'm going to use logical AND, and then I'm going to say 6 greater than 0. So here we are trying to check the condition. What is the use of logical AND? I'm sure that you know. Logical AND will return true only if both conditions are true. In this case, both conditions are true. When I run this one, it should return true. In case if one condition goes false, let's say instead of 5, I'm going to change this one to true. This condition is false, right? This condition is true. So if one condition is false and one other condition is true, just because this is a logical AND, this would return false, as you can see them here. But if it is a logical OR, it's going to return if either one of these conditions are true. So when I say this one, though this condition is false, but this condition is true, is still going to return true, because the logical OR will return if either one of those conditions are true, right? But if both conditions are false, let's say this one is 10. In this case, both conditions are false, right? In this case, it's going to return false, right? When it comes to the logical NOT, if it is true, it's going to return false. If it is false, it's going to return true. So in this case, both are false, so it's going to return true. Sorry, when it comes to the logical OR, we can use a different condition. Then, because I have not used, okay, here let me just use logical NOT. I think it will give an error. So for logical NOT, let us just give the different condition. So what I'm going to do, maybe I can say the logical NOT, and then inside I'm going to check the condition. The condition I can say whether 10 is equals 4. 10 is not equals to 4, right? So meaning this condition is false, but because there is a logical NOT, is going to return as true. When the condition is false, it's going to be true. When the condition is true, it's going to be false. So when I say 10, yes, 10 is equals to 10, but in this case, it's going to return false, as you can see them here. So this is how logical operator would work in Java. I'm sure that now we have learned about the operators, arithmetic, assignment, relational, and logical. And then there are other operators like unary operators, and where we can use the increment and decrement, where you put increment operator plus plus, where you use a decrement operator. That one I'm sure that you can still be able to work, right? So this is about the operators in JavaScript. Sorry, it's not a JavaScript. Actually, I was teaching a quite number of JavaScript. No wonder that this JavaScript thing is been keep on coming. So this is the operators that we have in Java. The next one, let us learn about conditional operator. Before we go to the conditional operator in JavaScript, all those examples that we have seen so far, what I have done, assigned the values for the variables, isn't it so? Yes, we have declared the variables, but I have said that integer num1 is equal to 10. I have assigned the values. What if you want to get the input from the user? What if you want to ask the user to enter the input? So based on the input that the user enters, maybe you want to evaluate the condition. So in that case, there are different ways programmers that they use to get the input from the user, but the most traditional, most common way is to use the scanner object. I'm sure that you are confused of this scanner object. Let me show you so that you will understand how to get an input from the user instead of assigning the values to the variable, right? So let me create another project. Click application, next. So this one I would call as input because I'm going to collect the input from the user. Still this box is going to be checked. Click finish. So as I said, Java provides different ways to get the input from the user. However, in this class or in this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to get the input from the user using the scanner object, right? So as I say that we are going to use the scanner class. For that scanner class, we need to create an object in order to get an input. So if you want to use a scanner class, you have to use a package. You need to import a package. In the previous example, I'm sure that you remember, if you want to use the default function date from Java, you have to import that package name called java.util.date, right? So here, if you want to use the scanner function, you have to import the package, right? So let me show you now. Let me give you a simple example. Let me say I want to create, I want to get an input from the user. So if you want to create an input from the user, as I said, you have to use scanner class, then you have to create an object. Let's say input is an object, then I'm going to use new keyword, then I'm going to use scanner. So inside I'm going to use the method as system.in. So this is a traditional way most programmers they use to get the input from the user. But as soon as you type this class with an object, it's giving us a big fat error. Meaning when you use the scanner class, you need to import a package for this particular scanner class. So when you go there, it's saying you have to import java.util.scanner. Click there, then you find that it has already imported the package. So still there is some typo error, system.in. So now you have seen that the error have gone. So this is a first step for you to get the input from the user. So we are going to use the scanner. This is a class, this is an object. This can be anything, it's not necessarily input, it can be ABC, XYZ, anything. Then followed by new as a keyword, then the scanner class, then inside we are going to pass the parameter as system.in. So for example, now let me say I want to get the input from the user, right? If you want to get the input from the user, in cout you would say enter the username or enter the number, right? So even here we are just going to use output statement. The output statement is system.out.println. So here inside you are going to ask the user to enter anything, maybe enter your name, enter the value, enter the number, or whatever. Let me say here I'm just going to ask the user to enter the number. It's clear, right? Now this message will be popped to the user. Now I have to collect that input that was entered by the user. So in order to collect that input, so let's say this one I'm going to create a variable. So whatever the user that they are going to enter is a number. So that number is an integer data type, right? Integer data type. Now it's a data type. I need to create a variable. Let's say num1 equals. So what are the user that they are going to enter is going to be stored into the object called input. So put input a, then dot. As long as this is a dot, here as you can see there is a method that are coming. So if you want to get the input from the user, you have to use next integer as a method. I hope things are clear, right? So what you have done, so we are asking the user to enter the input. The user is going to enter the input. So that one needs to be collected and stored them somewhere in the memory. If you want to store the values into the memory, we usually use variables, right? So as long as I am going to collect the integer, so I have created the variable, but where am I going to collect the input from? I'm going to use the object for the scanner class. This next integer is a method that we use to get an integer value. If the user enters the floating point, there is a method name called next float. We will see an example so that you will understand, right? So this is how we are going to use next integer as a method. Now maybe after collecting the thing, what we need to print them is just say, let me just copy and paste with the interest of time. I've copied and paste system.out.println. Let me say, I'm going to say you have entered, then followed by you have to print the message, right? If you want to print the message, what you need to do? You need to concatenate. Where are you going to concatenate with? Where is the value now? Right at the moment. At the moment is there at the num1 variable. Right? Save and run. Enter the number. Now it's allowing me to enter the number 34. When I click enter, you have entered 34. I hope this one is clear. Some people they use, as long as when you have the scanner function, some people they always love to use the close method, because when you, this is like opening the scanner method, at the end of it you need to close this one. So some people they like to use this object, the object name is input dot close as a method to close the scanner class. So when you run this one still is going to be work as the same. 89 enter is going to give us the result saying you have entered 89, right? This is like an optional, but it's a good practice to close the scanner object. So as I said that this input is an object for the class name called scanner. If you want to use the scanner class to get the input from the user, you have to use this import java.util.scanner. Now the previous example I have showed that if you want to use the date function java.util.scanner, what if I want to use more of them under this package util? So instead of specifying .scanner, if you want to use more than one packages from this java.util, you can use star here. So when you use star, whatever the packages that belongs to this utility, util means utility, it will all be imported. So even if you use date, let me say, let me just show you, date d1 is equals to new date. It's not giving me any error, because I told you if you want to use the date function you have to import.java.util.date. But now it's not giving me an error, because when you put this star, it is going to include all the packages under this utility. So you can make use of whatever the method that belongs to this utility package. That is the reason why we use star as a method. I hope it's clear, right? So this is how, if you want to get an data or an input from the user, this is how you need to use. So let's say instead of number, let me say enter your name. So now the user is going to enter the name, right? So the name is a string. It's not an integer. So here the data type is string. So when you say the data type is string, is giving me a big fat error, because this next integer is the method which can help us to get the integer value, but not the string. But if you want to get the string input, when you just put dot, just going to say next line as a method. So say next line, save. So here, okay, still it can be number one, save, run, enter your name. When I say Ranjan, whatever the name, you have entered Ranjan, whatever the name. Though there is some typo error, don't worry about that one. So all you need to know is how to get a string value. So if it is a float, next float as a method. So for the string, not next string, next line, you have to remember, right? So is there any method called next string? Let us just check. Next string, there is no method as next string. So if you go there for the next string, you ended up with getting an error. So because when you want to get a string, is going to be a next line. So this is how you need to get an input from the user. I hope for different methods you can use different methods. So if you want to get the float, so here is going to be a float. As I said, it's going to be a float. So here is an error because the method is next float, right? So here maybe enter number, let me save and run 5.7 and I enter, you have entered 5.7, right? So this is how you can get the float value. So I hope now you know how to get the input from the user to perform any operations, right? So finally, I want to talk about the conditional statements in Java, because I'm sure that you know conditional statements plays a vital role in all the programming, even in C programming, C++, PHP, JavaScript, Java, any programming. This is like a core concepts. It's everywhere. Conditional statements are everywhere. So particularly now we are going to learn about the conditional statement. Let us start with if and if else, and then we will learn about switch. From there we will learn about the loops like for loop, while loop, do while loop, and then how to use break and continue in Java, right? And let us start with an if condition. I'm sure that you know how the if condition would work in other programming, right? So let me just remove this part. So now we are going to learn about if. So I'm sure that you still remember the syntax for the if condition. If is a keyword, here we are going to use conditions. If this particular condition is true, then this body of the statement is going to be executed, right? So if this condition is true, then we are going to execute these statements. If this condition is not true, then this body of the statement is not going to be executed, right? So this is how the if condition would work. So let me just give you a quick example of how if condition would work in Java. So what I can say, let me say string, I can say name equals, let me say Ranjan. Okay, now I'm going to use the if condition. I'm going to use if name, let me say create another variable, name1 and then comma name2 equals, let me say Joseph. So here I'm going to check the condition. If name1 equals name2, if it is true, inside what I'm going to do, I'm just going to print something. Let me say system.out.println. You're saying that both are same. Maybe both names are same, right? So now this if condition is going to check the condition. So what is the condition? Name1 equals name2. So it's going to check. What is the name1? Name1 is Ranjan, name2 is Joseph. So name1 is not equals to name2. So in that case, this condition will fail. If this condition is failed, sorry, let me put this one inside this block here, right? I hope I've not opened too many. This one is closing there, this one is closing there, this one is closing. Okay, it's right, right? So now I'm going to compare the name1 with name2 as a condition. If this condition is true, this block of code is going to be executed. If this condition is false, then nothing would happen, right? So when I run this one, so okay, you can see even before we run, you would know name1 is equal to Ranjan, name2 is equal to Joseph. Are they same? They're not same. So when I run this one, what would happen? Nothing would happen. It would just give us a blank screen. You can see build successful but no output because this condition is failed. In case if this condition is true, this part is going to be executed. As long as this condition is false, then there is nothing is going to happen. So let's say I'm just going to use the relational logical operator that we have learned, I'm going to put not in front. So here I'm going to check name1 is equals to name2. This condition is false. As long as I have put not, meaning if it is false, it's going to be true. If this condition is true, it's going to return this one, right? So when I run this one, it's going to say both names are same because of the logical operator not here. I hope you have understood, right? So now let me remove this part. So this is how if would work. Now if else, what does that mean else? In this case, name1 is not equals to name2. So this part is not going to be executed, right? So when I run this one, it would say it was pure successful, but there is no result. In case, if you want to display the result saying the name1 is not equals to name2, for that we can use else. Inside, we can just pass the message saying the names are, maybe let's say, not same. So what does that mean exactly? This else part will execute only if this given condition is false. If this given condition is true, this part is not going to be executed. In this case, name1 is not equals to name2, so this part is going to be executed. So let me run. Both names are not same. No wonder this condition is false, so it is executing this else part. In case if this condition is true, let's say instead of Joseph here, I'm just going to call this one as a Ranjan. So in that case, both name1 and name2 are same. So what does that mean? This if condition is true. If this condition is true, it is going to execute this part. It doesn't care about this else part. So when I run this one, you have seen both names are same. So it has managed to execute the blocks that belongs to the if condition. I hope now this one is clear as well, right? So again, there is another question. Is there any need for us to use else condition? Okay, technically I would say yes, because it's important to display what is wrong, right? Even when you go to the ATM, you enter the password. Let's say if the machine doesn't show you a message saying you have entered the wrong password, you will have no idea what you have done, right? You will just keep on pressing the password every time. Maybe the password is a wrong password. It's always a best practice to show the customer saying that you have entered something wrong, right? That's how we use else. Otherwise, it's not mandatory. You can just have if without else. But you cannot have else without if. Let me say, before I didn't use else, right? I just used if, then it was working fine. Just that I'm unable to print the result because the condition was failed. So let me say, I'm going to remove the else part. Now I just have if, right? When I save and run, it's going to work. Both names are same. Yes, name 1 is Ranjan, name 2 is Ranjan. So the condition is true, it's displaying, right? Without else, the if works fine. Now let's do this. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to remain with the else. I'm going to remove the if. Let me save. I don't have if, I only have else. You can see the big fat error here saying else without if. What does that mean? You can use if condition without else statement, but you are not allowed to use the else part without the if condition. I hope it's clear, right? So this is how if and else would work. Then we are going to learn something called else if. What does that mean, else if? This else if will come here. Let me say else if. And then here I'm going to say, I'm going to set another condition. Let me say name 1 is not equals name 2. So let me copy and paste them here. Both names are not same. So here in the else part, what I'm going to say, just going to say exit. So now we are going to learn something interesting. Yes, we know what is if, we know what is else. Now we have introduced another term or another name called else if. What does that mean? Initially, if this condition is true, it's going to execute this block. If this condition is false, we have executed the else part. Now, with this new thing name called else if, what is going to happen? In case if this condition is false, instead of executing the else, is going to execute, or is not necessarily is going to execute, is going to else if part. Again here is going to check the condition. Are we with me? I'm sure that you are with me. If is the condition is going to check whether the given condition is true or false. If this condition is true, is going to execute this part. If this part is not true, then this body of the statement is not going to be executed. Then the compiler will come to the next, looking at else if. Instead of going straight to the else, is going to the else if now. Now even this else if have got conditions. Is going to check this condition. In case if this condition is true, is going to execute this part instead of just executing the else part. Are we together? Now let me show you this example. Ranjan, let me change this one to Joseph again. Now what does that mean? Name 1 is not equals to name 2. Meaning if condition is failed, it's not going to execute. Before it went straight to the else and executed the things that are found in the else part, right? Now instead of going straight to the else, we are going to the else if, and even this else if have got a condition. What does this condition? Name 1 is not equals to name 2. Yes, name 1 is not equals to name 2. Ranjan is not equals to Joseph. In that case, this condition is true. So what is going to happen? It is going to execute this statement saying both names are not same. Then from here the program will exit. It's not going to print the message saying exit, because yes, of course this condition is true. Then why should I print this statement here in the else? I'm just going to print the statement from the else if. Let me run. As you can see them here, both names are not same. I hope now you have understood how to work with if, else and else if, right? Same like any other programming that you have learned them before. So this is how it works. Now let us learn about the switch statement, right? Usually the switch statement, I'm sure that again this one also you have learned in some other programming. The same is going to be same just like the way that you have learned in other programming. So the switch statement allows us to execute a block of code among many alternatives. Usually the syntax, let me give you the syntax. Let me just remove this part for now. Let me put another. Okay, so let me give you the syntax here within this command line. So I'm sure that you already know there is nothing new. We are just going to use switch as a keyword. Inside we are going to pass the expression, right? Then from there inside what are we going to have? Maybe we are going to have the case 1, then colon for the statement, and then we are going to have the break, so that in case if this case 1 is true, this statement will be executed and then the control will break the execution, right? So then otherwise case 2, it will go to the case 2, it will execute, otherwise it will break. If there is nothing, we will go to the default and it will execute the default, right? So this is a basic syntax. So now let me give you a quick example how switch statement would work, just like any other programming, right? So here I'm just going to say integer, let me say num1, I would say this one as 77, okay, and let me say I'm going to create another variable as string. Let me call this one as a size. So now I'm going to use switch as a keyword. So I'm going to use switch. So here I need to pass the expression, right? So what is expression am I going to pass? So this variable is an expression because I'm going to check the size based on that variable. So I'm going to pass that one here. So inside, what I'm going to have the conditions. As I said, that is going to have a block of codes. So let's say case 1. So this case 1, okay, this case 1, I'm going to say, I'm just going to make use of this variable that I have. Let me say size. I'm just going to, this is a string, right? So whatever the value that I assigned for this variable size has to be a string. So let me say small. I hope it's clear, right? Why have I included the string here? Because this size is a string variable, so I have to pass the value as a string. So this is the first one. Now I'm going to use the break, because if this first condition is true, it's going to execute this part, right? Then I'm going to say, so instead of case 1, let me just pass the values here, because since I said 77, so I'm going to say 77, right? It's going to now 7. Then let me create different cases. Let me say case any number 22. Maybe I'm going to say size equals, let me call this one as a large, and then I'm going to break, right? Maybe let me say by default, don't want to spend more time here, because assumption is you already know. Size, I can call this one as an unknown. Then I'm just going to use break, right? So finally, in the system.out.println, what I want to print them is this. So what I can do here, I can just say, see, I would say what I want to print them is a size as a message, right? So put colon. If you want to space, yes, space them. What you want to concatenate, I want to concatenate with this variable size, right? So when you save and refresh, saying that size is small, because initially the size is 77, so it's going to this case 77, the value is small. So when I change this one to number to this case 22, is going to print the size is large. When I pass something, let's say 26, there is no number here in the case 26, so by default it's going to execute the statements in the default saying unknown. As you can see them here, size unknown. So this is how a switch statement would work in Java program. So this is about the conditional statement. Now we are going to learn about the loops, how to iterate a particular condition over and over and again on a given condition using a for loop. So let us learn about for loop. In computer programming, loops are used to repeat a block of code, as I said. For example, if you want to show a message 100 times, then rather than typing the same code 100 times, you can use a loop. Let me give you an example. Before I give you an example, let me give you the syntax for using for loop. Again, for loop syntax is same like other programming, where we are going to have for as a keyword. It's going to take 3 parameters. First one is an initialization. You have to initialize. And then next one, this is a place where we are going to get the condition. We are going to check the condition. So this is separated by semicolons, right? Finally, we are going to do, it depends, you can do increment or decrement. So inside we are going to execute a block of code. So how this one would work actually, initially we are going to initialize the value, then it will check the condition. If the given condition is true, then we are going to execute the body of the block. After executing the body of the block, we are going to either increment or decrement. Then from here, again we are coming back to the condition. If the condition is true, we are not going back to the initialization. Instead, again we are going to come and execute the body of the loop. So this is how for loop would look like, work like, right? So let me give you this simple example to understand how the for loop would look like. So let me say integer, let me say num1 is equal to 90. Alright, so now I'm going to use the for loop. So what I can say, for as a keyword, as I said, that it is going to take 3 parameters. First one is an initialization. So let me say I'm going to initialize to 1. So here I'm going to say integer. You can create a data type inside the for loop. So let me say integer, let's say numbers equals to 1. So that is an initialization. Then semicolon. So now then from there you need to check the condition. So what is the condition here? I'm going to check these numbers. If this numbers is less than or equals this num1, let me copy and paste. So that's the condition. Then let's say I just want to increment. So if you want to increment, what you want to increment? The numbers. So numbers plus plus. So here it's not the full colon, semicolon. So inside I'm going to write the conditions. So condition, let's say what I want to do here is simply, maybe I just want to print, maybe learning Java is fun. So okay, so what does that mean? Initially I have initialized the values to this variable numbers. So this number is initially 1, right? So here we are trying to check the condition numbers. What is the numbers value here? 1. 1 less than or equals to number 1. What is the number 1? Is 90. 1 is less than or equal to 90. Is it true or false? Yes, it's true. This 90 would be too much. So let me just say 3. So 1 less than or equals to 3. Is it true or false? Yes, it's true. If it is true, it's not going to increment. Instead, it's going to come inside and is going to print Java is fun. Then from here, it is going to numbers here plus plus. Initially the number value is 1. Now the number value will be incremented. So initially it was 1. Then it will be incremented by 1. So the numbers will be 2. Again it will come here. So the number value at the moment is 2. 2 less than or equal to number 1. What is the number 1? Number 1 is 2, 3. So 2 less than or equal to 3. Is it true or false? It's true. If it is true, it will come here to execute. It's going to print another time. Learning Java is fun. Then from here again it's going here. Numbers plus plus. What is the numbers value now? I hope you remember the number value is 2. Again we are going to increment the number value. The number will be 3. So again it's come here. So 3, the number value is now 3. 3 less than or equals to 3. Is it true or false? It's true. If it is true, what will happen? It will come and execute this part. Again it's going to print learning Java is fun at the 3rd time. Then from here again it will go here. Numbers plus plus. What was the number value before? The number value before was 3. Now I am going to increment by 1. When you add 1 with 3, what is the value? 4. So what is the currently number value? 4. Then from here it will come here. Now the numbers value is 4 less than or equal to 3. Is it true or false? It's false. If it is false, it's not going to execute this block. Then the program will come to an end. So when I run this program, it's going to print learning Java is fun 3 times because of the conditions that we have them here. So this is how for loop would work in Java. Then the next one is for each loop. So in Java, the for each loop is used to iterate through elements of arrays and collections. There is in Java, there is a concept name called array list. If you want to iterate through an array, we use for each as a method. So let me give you this simple example. So when you want to use for each as a method, here is a syntax. So if you want to, this is a simple for loop. So in Java there is a method name called for each. For that you have to use for as a keyword. It's going to take the data type then it's going to take the array, and then inside is going to have the block of codes. I hope it looks weird. Let me give you a simple example using for each loop so that you can able to understand, right? So now what I'm going to do, let me remove this part for now. So here, as I said, I'm just going to have integer of array. This is an empty array. Let me call this one as a numbers equals, here I'm going to have some numbers. Let me say 4 comma 7 comma 3 comma maybe let's say -90. This is an array of numbers, right? So now I'm going to use for each loop to print all the elements in this particular object. I want to print all the elements from this particular object. As I say that if you want to loop through an array to print all the elements from that array, you can use for each. So as I said, I'm going to use for as a keyword. Inside, I'm sure that you can remember data type. So what is the data type here? Integer is the data type. Now, what do you want to loop through? I want to loop through all the items from this array, right? So this one, you can say integer as a data type, then followed by, we are going to use these elements, or you can call this one as an numbers, or you can call this one as a values. This one can be anything. So in short, what we are trying to say, this integer is a data type. I want to print all the elements from this variable number. So this one can be anything, right? So this integer is a data type. I want to print all the numbers from this number variable, right? Then we are going to put the colon, as you can see them here in the syntax. Then from there, where do you want to print them from? This particular variable. Copy and paste them here. I hope you have understood, right? So this is what I want to print. So at the inside, so just write system.out.println. So inside here, what do you want to print? I just want to print the values. Copy and paste them here. Save. These values, it can be anything, because why I put values here is I want to print the values from this one. Maybe if you can call this one as an items or number, whatever. So this integer is a data type. So from that data type, I want to print the values from this array as the syntax suggests. So when I save and refresh, I can able to print all the elements from the array 4, 7, 3, 90. I hope it's clear, right? If you want to print the element from the array or array list that we are going to learn in the later part of the tutorial. So this is how the for each loop can be used. Now we are going to learn about a while loop in Java. I think this is a last loop that I am going to teach you for this tutorial. After this while loop, I would say we have managed to learn all the basics that we need to know to get started with Java programming. So let me just teach you the last conditional statement in Java, which is nothing but a while loop. So as I say that if you want to execute, or if you want to execute a block of code repeatedly, we use loop. We have learned how to use the for loop. Now we are going to learn about while loop. We already know while loop will take the condition. If this condition is true, is going to execute this block of code. As long as there is a difference between the if and the while. Even while does the same. Even if does the same. You would say, yeah, even if you check the condition, if the condition is true, is going to execute. But there is a difference. What is the difference? While is not going to check the condition once, is going to check the condition as long as the given condition is true. It's not like one time checking. It's going to check the condition multiple times. Every time when the condition is being checked,
if the condition is true, this body of the loop is going to be executed. But in the if, it's going to check only once. If it is true, it will be executed. It's not going to check again. But this while is going to keep on checking as long as the condition is true, right? So let me give you this simple example. I can say here, I can say integer num1 equals to 5, right? Here I'm going to check while I can say maybe another, let me declare another variable, integer n is equals to 2. Here in the while, I'm just going to check the condition. While, let me say n is less than or equals to num1. So I'm just going to print same like for loop. What is going to happen? I have assigned two, I've declared two variables, a name called n and num1. So I'm just going to check n is 2, I have assigned the values. So n value is 2, we are going to compare them with num1. 2 less than or equals to 5, this condition is true, then it's going to be, let me say, learning Java. Then from here, after printing this one, I have to increment the num1, right? So I'm just going to use num1 plus plus. So the num value will, sorry, I just want to increment the n value, not the num value, right? So then from here n value will become 3. It comes here 3 less than or equals to 5. We check, is print, again it will come, the n value become 4, just like that n value become 5, so that it will keep on printing. So when I run this one, learning Java is fun, is printing 4 times, because initially n value is 2, then it will become 3 and become 4, then it will become 5, so 4 times, right? When the n value becomes 6, this loop is not going to be executed. I think that's it, guys. I hope everything was clear up to this point. This is a core concept. I hope now you will say Java is simple, right? Are you with me? I'm sure that you're with me. See you in the next tutorial. If you have got any questions, you are free to ask me through comment section. Otherwise, thank you for your patience. Thank you so much.